It's Tuesday, May 19th. In the headlines, government promises decision on a Kingston Metropolitan Region's taxi fare increase by June 1. In business news, government urged to fix chronic cement shortage. Regionally, Cuban ambassador rejects United States $100 million aid offer and calls for an end to the embargo. In sports, Portmore coach calls for VAR after controversial semi-final defeat. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Taxi operators in the Kingston Metropolitan Transport Region, KMTR, will receive word on their long-awaited 16% fare increase by June 1. The commitment came during a meeting on Monday at the Halfway Tree Transport Centre involving Finance Minister Favour Williams, Transport Minister Daryl Vaz, and representatives of taxi associations. Taxi operators have been pressing for the increase since April 2024, citing rising operational costs driven by escalating global oil prices. Minister Vaz says the government has been cushioning fuel price increases through Petrojam's pricing mechanism, which caps weekly fuel hikes at $4.50 per litre, despite increases that could have reached as high as $12.50 per litre. According to Minister Vaz, the subsidy has cost the government nearly $4 billion, and officials are seeking to avoid additional inflationary pressure on the wider economy. He says a cabinet submission regarding the fare increase is now before the Ministry of Finance. In her response, the Finance Minister acknowledged the delay in implementing the remaining 16% increase, following a 19% hike granted in October 2023 under an agreement for a total 35% increase. Minister Williams says the government may consider implementing the increase in 2 phases to reduce the economic impact. The government is reaffirming its commitment to strengthening workers' rights and modernizing Jamaica's labor market as the country observes Workers' Week 2026. In a message marking the occasion, Labor Minister Pernell Charles Jr. says workers must continue to play a central role in shaping labor policies and national development. Danita Rodney has the details in this report.
This year's Workers' Week is being observed under the theme Voices Heard, Shaping Labor Policies in an Evolving Labor Market. Labor Minister Pernell Charles Jr. says the theme highlights the importance of listening to workers and ensuring their concerns help guide policy decisions.
As we observe Workers' Week 2026, we are reminded that Jamaica's progress has always been shaped by the voices of our workers, voices demanding fairness, dignity, opportunity, and respect. This year's theme, Voices Heard, Shaping Labor Policies in an Evolving Labor Market, speaks to the importance of listening, engaging, and taking meaningful action.
The minister reflected on the 1938 labor uprising, saying Jamaican workers fought for better wages, safer conditions, and dignity, laying the foundation for today's labor protections.
In the 1930s, Jamaican workers stood courageously for better wages, safer working conditions, and dignity in the workplace. Their advocacy laid the foundation for many of the labor protections and systems that we benefit from today. Over the years, Jamaica has strengthened its labor framework through key reforms. We have established a national minimum wage, we've standardized the 40-hour work week, and introduced the Employment Flexible Work Arrangements Act, supporting flexible schedules, remote work, and a modern economy.
Minister Charles notes that the government is also continuing efforts to strengthen occupational safety and fairness in the workplace.
We remain committed to protecting our workers. We continue to advance occupational safety and health legislation to ensure that every Jamaican worker returns home safely at the end of each workday. We also continue efforts to ensure fairness and dignity at every stage of employment. And this year marks the 50th anniversary of the Labor Relations Code, a cornerstone of industrial relations in Jamaica. For 5 decades, it has helped to foster stability, dialogue, and cooperation among government, employers, and workers.
He adds, Jamaica's future workforce must be built on fairness, inclusion, and a shared responsibility, while protecting workers and supporting economic growth.
Now, the future of work in Jamaica must be built on partnership, inclusion, fairness, and shared responsibility. This Workers' Week, let us recommit to building a labor market that protects workers, supports growth, and prepares Jamaica for the future. In 1938, Jamaican workers made their voices impossible to ignore. In 2026, we must do more than hear their voices. We must act on them.
Workers' Week 2026 is being observed with a series of activities recognizing the contribution of Jamaican workers to national development. Reporting for the news on PBCJ, I am Danita Rodney.
Former Finance Minister and current IMF Deputy Managing Director, Dr. Nigel Clark, has been honored in Atlanta for his contribution to Jamaica's economic resilience. Dr. Clark received the Global Impact Award from the Integrity Children's Fund during the organization's annual gala. The award recognized Dr. Clark's leadership in strengthening Jamaica's economy and improving the country's preparedness for major challenges, including extreme weather events. During his tenure as finance minister, Jamaica's debt-to-GDP ratio declined from 110% in 2020 to 72% in 2023. The gala also marked the Integrity Children's Fund's 24th anniversary of supporting educational opportunities for at-risk children in Jamaica and Metro Atlanta. Dr. Clark was appointed Deputy Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund in 2024. Did you know that Trachoma is the leading infectious cause of blindness worldwide? Here are some facts from the World Health Organization.
Did you know that we can treat the blinding stage of trachoma in just 20 minutes? We don't need a high-tech operating room or complex equipment. We just need basic surgical tools and trained hands, and we can often supply those things close to where people live. Trachoma doesn't start with blindness though, it starts with infection of the eyelids in childhood. Over time, repeated infections cause the eyelids to turn inward. That means that with every blink, the eyelashes scrape the front of the eye, so that every blink causes pain. Without treatment, that eventually leads to blindness. But simple surgery done under local anaesthetic can stop the pain immediately and save sight. Trachoma is the world's leading infectious cause of blindness. It's caused by a bacterium called Chlamydia trachomatis, and it thrives where access to clean water and sanitation are limited. Today, it's a public health problem in 30 countries, and around 97 million people are at risk of going blind. The infection spreads from child to child and from child to mother to child, through hands, through shared bedding, and through flies that move from eye to eye. Children are the most commonly infected, and women become affected up to 4 times more than men because they care for children and so face repeated exposure. But the thing that matters most is that we know how to stop it. The WHO recommended SAFE strategy works. SAFE represents S, or surgery to treat the advanced stage, A for antibiotics, particularly azithromycin donated by Pfizer through the International Trachoma Initiative to clear infection, F for facial cleanliness, and E for environmental improvement. particularly better water and sanitation access. Because trachoma doesn't come from one infection, it comes from many acquired over years. So reducing transmission is critical. In 2024 alone, 87,000 people received sight-saving surgery and 44 million people were treated with antibiotics to eliminate trachoma. Progress over the last few decades has been massive. In 2002, we estimated that more than 1.5 billion people needed interventions, and today that number has dropped dramatically. Countries from Algeria to Egypt to Mexico, Nepal and Papua New Guinea have eliminated trachoma as a public health problem. This is what global health progress looks like. Step by step, community by community, country by country. We have the tools, we have the strategy, and we have committed partners and support. Our target is very clear: to eliminate trachoma everywhere by 2030. That means turning a disease that has caused suffering for centuries into history. And it starts with something as simple as a 20-minute surgery. Did you know? Ending preventable blindness is within reach.
In the business report, President of the Incorporated Master Builders Association of Jamaica, Richard Mullings, is urging the government to address the ongoing cement shortage affecting the construction sector. Mullings says the shortage is negatively impacting the industry, which employs more than 100,000 people and contributes to 10% of Jamaica's economy. He says letters sent by the association to the Ministries of Finance and Industry seeking answers on the issue have gone unanswered. While acknowledging that cement imports may offer temporary relief, Mullings says greater support should be given to locally based Caribbean Cement Company Limited, warning that increased imports could lead to foreign exchange losses and reduced economic growth. Woodcats International is reporting lower first quarter profits and revenue as the company says demand was affected by the lingering impact of Hurricane Melissa and seasonal factors. For the first quarter ending March 31 this year, revenue declined by 5.3% to $241.9 million. The company says weaker demand from manufacturers and other key customers contributed to the decline. We now have the latest market and foreign exchange update from Denise Williams.
For the trading period of May 18, 2026, the most actively traded securities were Woodcats International Limited with 5,050,519 units, representing 19.01% of market sales activities. Kintyre Holdings Jamaica Limited with 3,496,276 units, representing 13.16% of market sales activities. Trans-Jamaica Highway Limited with 3,222,545 units, representing 12.13% of market sales activities. Investor activity remained concentrated in distribution and transportation plays, signaling continued interest in dividend-producing and strategic assets. Turning to the foreign exchange market based on Bank of Jamaica data for May 18, 2026, Forex traders recorded significant activity with strong demand across major currencies. For the US dollar, trading margins reflected steady liquidity, with the US selling for $157.29 and buying at $158.56. For the Canadian dollar, moderate gains supported by 55-cent transaction spreads. The Canadian dollar sold for $115.84 and was bought for $115.29. For the British pound, continued volatility offered short-term trading opportunities of $3.53 in profits for the banks. The British pound sold for $213.34 and was bought for $209.81. These movements underscore the importance of cash flow timing and currency awareness for businesses managing import costs, debt servicing, or overseas exposure. For our credit report tip of the day, credit determines how expensive or accessible your next step in life will be. So let's give 2 examples. For health, financial access becomes medical access. While healthcare systems differ across countries, one reality is consistent. Financial stability influences health outcomes. Strong credit can support emergency medical financing when insurance is limited. It can support access to private care or faster treatment options. It can reduce financial stress, which directly impacts physical health. Poor credit often increases stress load, delays care decisions, and restricts access to higher quality services when they are needed most. Credit also impacts your career and is actually a hidden gatekeeper of mobility. Credit also impacts career decisions more than most professionals realize. It affects ability to relocate quickly for job opportunities. It affects access to professional development funding, eligibility for roles that require financial trustworthiness, entrepreneurship and business expansion. A strong credit profile creates agility. A weak one creates delay. In fast-moving industries, timing is often the difference between growth and stagnation. And that's today's business report. I'm Denise Williams, bringing clarity to capital markets and strategy. Until next time, stay informed, stay intentional, and keep building forward. See you soon.
In regional news, Cuba's ambassador to Dominica, Miguel Manuel Frega Gonzalez, has dismissed a United States offer of $100 million United States in humanitarian aid package, insisting that Washington should instead lift its long-standing trade and economic embargo against the Caribbean island. Earlier this month, the Donald Trump administration announced the aid package to assist Cubans facing ongoing energy and fuel crisis. The funds were to be distributed through the Catholic Church and other independent humanitarian organizations. However, speaking on Dominica's state-owned DBS radio on Monday night, Frega said if the United States is serious about helping the Cuban people, it should end the embargo imposed on Cuba since February 7, 1962. The ambassador made the remarks while also expressing Havana's appreciation for 30 years of diplomatic relations with Dominica. Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association President Senovnik Destang is urging regional tourism stakeholders to act with greater urgency in addressing climate change. Destang is calling for expanded renewable energy use and stronger climate resilience measures ahead of the start of the Atlantic hurricane season. ABS News' Alicia George reports.
Speaking on the sidelines of the Caribbean tourism marketplace in Antigua, Senovnik Destang said the region's high vulnerability to hurricanes and other climate shocks makes the shift to clean energy more urgent than ever.
We have abundant sunshine in the Caribbean, and here we are worried about what's happening a world away with regards to oil prices when we've got all the sunshine in the world and can generate our own energy far cheaper. In the Caribbean, less than 5% of our energy right now in the tourism sector is fueled by solar and alternative energy, and that's a problem. That does not make sense economically. It does not make sense from an environmental standpoint, and we've produced several papers. We've done our advocacy at CHTA, and we're going to continue to do so.
Destang, who is president of the Hotels Tourism Association in the Caribbean, pointed to the impact of Hurricane Melissa in Jamaica, noting that about 20% of affected hotel rooms remain out of service, with some not expected to return until 2027. He said says this shows the costs of delaying action, warning that continued reliance on imported fossil fuels not only drives up energy costs, but leaves the tourism sector increasingly exposed during crisis.
Our Caribbean Alliance for Sustainable Tourism is very focused on climate change, particularly a heavy focus on the circular economy. We've recently received a grant for that, and we'll be doing some work to showcase the potential of the circular economy, and also on alternative energy, right? Making ourselves more resilient, not just in case of a hurricane, but also reducing our carbon footprint.
Destang is now urging governments to update regulations to make it easier for hotels and tourism operators to generate and use their own solar power, including greater flexibility for self-generation and stronger integration with national grids.
We need our governments to play a role in making the legislations in their various destinations more amenable to people who want to self-generate and to be able to generate their own solar power. We understand, of course, the utilities are there. A lot of them are very reliable and are needed. They're important, but so are we in the long term. So it's to find that right balance and to allow that hotel sector to flourish and to be a lot less reliant on the grid, so to speak, and much more importantly, less reliant on diesel and fossil fuel energy.
He says the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association has already produced several policy papers and is working with national hotel and tourism associations across the region to push for legislative reforms that better support alternative energy generation. Elisha George, for ABS News.
Guyana's President, Dr. Mohamed Ifran Ali, says the United Nations' involvement in the Global Biodiversity Alliance highlights the growing international focus on biodiversity protection. Speaking at the signing of a declaration of intent between Guyana and the UN, President Ali said the partnership strengthens the alliance's global reach and supports coordinated action against biodiversity loss.
Humanity is waging a war on nature. This is suicidal. Those were the stark words of Antonio Guterres, warning that biodiversity is collapsing at a rate unprecedented in human history, with up to 1 million species now at risk of extinction. The rapid loss of the world's biodiversity is a direct threat to food security, water systems, public health, and the global economy. It is, in other words, an existential threat to humanity. It is against this sobering global backdrop that I warmly welcome the United Nations to the Global Biodiversity Alliance. The participation of the United Nations is both a natural fit and a powerful endorsement of the work and vision of the Alliance. This is a call for all of us. This is what the Alliance calls for: unity of purpose, unity of action. And we are very pleased that some of the very large nations are joining. And also, the smallest of nations are also embracing. We hope that by the time we get to the second summit in the third quarter of this year in Guyana, we will have at least 150 members joining the Global Biodiversity Alliance. This will send a very strong signal, and we're hoping also, now that the United Nations is officially on board, to work with you in maybe launching the Global Biodiversity Oscars Awards, so that we can recognize those in research, indigenous communities, institutions, and country that are really in the forefront of keeping our planet alive.
Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley is calling for re-industrialization to become a national priority, saying the country must push for greater economic expansion despite recording 20 consecutive quarters of growth. Prime Minister Mottley made the remarks while addressing the State of the Industry Conference. The details in this report.
Post-independence, Barbadians have been satisfied to be consumers and not producers. That's according to Prime Minister Mia Motley, who said 66 years ago the country's imports were 5 times less than what they are today. She contends the country can do better by exploring the export market, noting if this does not change, Barbados will always be playing catch-up.
In 1960, Barbados exported approximately $24 million in merchandise and imported $49 million in goods. By 2024, we had reflected a completely different trend. We were literally exporting $461 million and importing $2.2 million. 2.2 billion, sorry. A difference now with our imports being almost 5 times what our exports are.
Prime Minister Motley stresses that Barbados is not prepared to abandon manufacturing, as has been done for the better part of the last 4 decades.
What is needed now is an ecosystem, first and foremost driven by the producers, who must be the innovators, and then secondly, by the government to create that nurturing environment within which you can function. And I stop at this point because no amount of wanting it to happen is going to make it happen unless those of you who are charged with responsibility of existing production will determine, 1, can I expand in an innovative way what I'm already producing? Can I find new markets for what I'm producing? If I can, am I competitive in those new markets? And if I'm not, what will it take for me to be competitive?
In sports, we begin on the field with football. Portmore United assistant coach Ricardo Smith has called for the introduction of video assist referee technology in the Ray and Nephew Jamaica Premier League playoffs, following a controversial decision in his team's 1-0 loss to Mount Pleasant Academy in their first leg semi-final at the National Stadium on Sunday. Warner Brown's 82nd minute strike handed Mount Pleasant the advantage as they pursue a 4th consecutive appearance in the final. However, Portmore were left aggrieved after a potential equalizer from national striker Corey Burke in the 70th minute was disallowed after initially being awarded by referee Okita Nicholson. The reversal sparked outrage among Portmore players, coaching staff, and supporters, with several fans in the grandstand walking out before the final whistle. Now on to the track with athletics. Jamaican quarter-miler Dejanay Oakley produced a stunning performance at the Southeastern Conference Championships over the weekend, clocking a personal best and world-leading 48.92 seconds to win the women's 400 meters. The University of Georgia athlete, formerly of Clarendon College, also set a new meet record and missed the collegiate record just by 0.03 of a second. Oakley's run made her the 2nd fastest Jamaican woman ever over the distance, behind Nikisha Price's 48.5 seconds, with both athletes now the only Jamaicans to break the 49-second barrier. An elated Oakley credited her teammates for inspiring the performance. And that's the news. On PBCJ, you can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. Thanks for watching.